Hello. If this is your first time using Fi and you're not sure how to get started, let's see together how we design this pair of earbuds, which once exported and processed a little more in Onshape look like this. And once a more experienced designer added some detailing and rendering, ended up looking like this. So let's see how we design these earbuds, starting from absolute zero, from scratch. So I started really with just a sketch on paper, which you can download from the button underneath this video. I imported them into Onshape in 3 separate images in my document. Then I run Fi and I start by selecting a cylinder and giving it a dimension of 8 mm, which is my requirement for the stem of the buds. And then I brought in these sketches as references and give them the required width, and then I position them as needed, and I use the Move tool to position the cylinder where I want it, based on my sketch. I brought in a couple more images, and you're free to bring in as many as you want, and scale or position them any way you want. So that's my starting point here. So the first thing I did is I squished the cylinder in one direction, because the stem of the bud is not really cylindrical, as you see, and then I had to give it a curvature at the bottom, which I do by simply deforming that part, pulling it down freely, or use the Move manipulator for a more directed movement. And then the trick I use is fix the part I want to maintain, and then I connect all of my edges by simply selecting them and I hit the Smoothen button. And the Smooth will make all the transitions between the edges smooth, and the edge shapes themselves as smooth and rounded as possible. And that usually gives you the result you want. So then moving upwards, I unfix that part, and I do a simple rigid move to elongate it, and then a pop-out. A pop-out is like an extrude, generates another piece directly on top of the one you have. I move it aside and I scale it using the same manipulator for move and scale, and roughly tracing the sketch that I'm using, and also in the other direction. And now I realise that I brought in this sketch upside down, so it's very easy to just select it and rotate the sketch by 180 degrees, or you can do a free rotate, anything, and then shift it back into place, and there it is. So I left this part in just to show you how easy it is to manipulate your references as well. And then I grabbed that circular face and pushed it in place. And now I'll do another pop out here, just a temporary thing, just to grab it and fix that end, so both ends, and now I'll repeat the smoothen trick that I mentioned. So I select all these chains of edges, and I simply ask Fi to smoothen these transitions. And as you see, the shape we get immediately is quite close to what we are after. Now I bring in the reference again because I realise I'm not going for a circular shape here. As you see, I have to elongate it on one side, so I simply select an edge and do a rigid freehand move to get the shape I'm after. We're not going for perfection here. We notice a slight dip there because Fi thinks that's the kind of surface we want. We don't really care because we'll get rid of this anyway, but just by adding a simple edge there, we can fix that. And now I will select this rear side and simply, with a freeform move, I will place it in the correct location. And then I drag this part forward and I shrink it to give the shape I want. And I have to do this in the other direction as well, because now we're not going for a circular shape. Also, looking at it from above, I realise that I have to shift a little bit and rotate it, put it in place. So here we are, and once more I fix everything except this part that I want to smoothen. Again, I do the same trick. I select these pair of edges and I hit smoothen. I actually increase the smoothen strength to get a very strong result, as rounded as possible that is, and I think that this is close enough to what I'm after. And now I'm sending this over to Onshape. This takes a couple of seconds, and this is my shape in Onshape. And I can use this, for example, here I'm adding a fillet on it, around this loop of edges, to make a soft transition, as you will see. And now I am back into Fi, and I decide to make a change to my design. For example, here I do a sort of offset. So I do a pop out and I push it inside the object to create an indentation. Here is where I push it in. And once I export it back to Onshape, as I'm doing right now, you will see an automatic update of the model in Onshape as well. So this is what we call a live update, and the downstream features, such as the fillets, are respected. And of course you can apply some of the various Onshape features, such as mirroring, to create a pair of such earbuds. You can shell them, to have a thin wall of material all around them, and section view will demonstrate the quality of the surface, both on the outside and the inside, as you see here. And this is the final result after an experienced designer worked on this a little more.